Hey guys, in today's video I wanted to teach you how to make a magic circle. I do have a video on this already, but I wanted to create an updated version, and I was also asked recently if I can demonstrate this slower, so I'll definitely go as slow as I can, and if all else fails I will also show you the chain 2 method. So if you're interested in learning how to make the magic circle, let's get started. First off, I am using the Big Twist Value yarn. This is a weight of 4 yarn, and my crochet hook is in the size 4.5 millimeters. Obviously, we're just learning how to make the magic circle, so feel free to use whatever yarn and size hook you do have. I'm going to demonstrate the magic circle 2 different ways. First, I'm going to show you this way that I feel like it might be a little bit easier to show on camera, and then the second one is the one that I usually show in my patterns. So first, let's start off with this new method. First thing we're going to do is take our yarn and lay it down flat. So you can see I just have it flat right here, and now I'm going to take this part of the yarn to create a circle. So all I'm going to do is just take my yarn. There's my circle. So you can see with this circle right here, you also have this X. So this X right here is because of the yarn laying across the top, and that's where we want to grab it. So I'm just going to grab it from the behind and the top, and now we have this circle. Now once you have your circle, you just want to make sure your fingers are on top of the back of the X and the front, so you have it secured. So here's our little circle. Now with this yarn right here, you just want to, so you're holding it like this. I'm just going to bring it back on top of my middle finger, and then I'm going to the ring finger right here, and I'm just going to lay it down flat. So I'll show that again. I'm taking this yarn, I'm pushing it back over the middle finger, and then I'm going to take my ring finger and just place it down so the yarn doesn't move. So here's what we have. Our circle and the yarn running through the middle finger out on top, underneath the ring finger. So now let's take our crochet hook. Before we get started with the crochet hook, you want to make sure that the ring finger isn't holding too tightly against this yarn, because we will need to pull this yarn through the circle. So now let's take our crochet hook and insert it inside the circle, and we're going to grab this yarn and pull it through the circle. And I'm just going to twist it upwards. Now you can see that the circle is kind of moving, and we want it to be a little bit more secure, so you can take your fingers where you're holding your crochet hook and you can just grab onto it. So this is what we currently have. Now we have to yarn over our hook. So I'm just going to take this yarn and I'm just going to bend my hook downwards and put the yarn over my hook. And then I'm just going to take my fingers right here and hold it against where the hook is and pull this yarn through. So now I'm just going to let go so you can see the circle. So there is the magic circle. Now you can just tighten it up. So just hold on to each side, pull it, and now it's tighter. So then you can take this yarn piece out, just make sure it's on the right side, and that is your magic circle. And then this yarn right here is the one you can pull on to make the circle smaller. So I'm just pulling on this yarn and it's making it smaller. For the second method, this is the one that I always show in my videos. So this is where we're going to create the X. So what I like to do first is take my yarn and I'm going to lay it down against my fingers. Once you have your yarn laid down on your fingers, you can just take your thumb and hold on to the yarn. And then with the rest of the yarn, we're going to wrap it around our fingers. So I'm just going to take my yarn and I'm going around my fingers. I usually just go around 3. Now once I get back to the front, I want to create an X with the yarn that's already laying down. So this one right here. So I'm just going to take my yarn and I'm going to create my X. So there's my X. Now I'm just going to bring the rest of this yarn back down. This time I'm not going to go around again. I'm just going to take my pinky and just place it on top of my yarn, just to make sure it doesn't get out of place. So now this is what we have. We have an X at the front, and then we have our circle that's going around our 3 fingers. So we have this top piece of the X right here. This is what we're going to grab to pull it through the circle. So let's take our crochet hook. We're going to insert our crochet hook inside the circle. And then we're going to grab that front X. So this one right here, I'm going to grab it and pull it through the circle. Now, once I pull it through, I'm also just going to twist upwards. Okay, so now let's just turn our hand over really quick. We can bring this hook along with us. And you have these 2 pieces of yarn. So the one that's closer to your fingertip, you're not going to work with that because that's the circle. You're just going to grab this one right here. So this is basically the front X. You're just going to take your hook, you're going to go downwards, and then put your hook back up, So you can grab this yarn and pull it through the circle. If you need to, just hold onto the yarn and pull it through. Now I'm just going to let go so you can see the circle. So this is our circle. Let me just make sure it's a little bit more neat. So this is a circle right here, and this part of the yarn is the one you can pull on to make the circle smaller. But first I'm just going to tighten it up. So let me just pull on all of this, and that tightens the circle up. And this yarn right here is the one you can pull on. And that's how you make the circle smaller. I will demonstrate that one more time in case I went too fast. So let's take our yarn, and I'm going to lay it down against my 3 fingers, and then I'll take my thumb and hold on to that yarn. Next, I'm going to take the rest of the yarn and wrap it around my fingers. So I'm just going to go down. Now once I get to the bottom, I come back to the top, but I want to create an X this time. So with this yarn that's laying down right here, I'm just going to take this one to make an X. So now I'm back at the top of my fingers. I'm just going to take the yarn back down, and I'm going to show you the back of my hand. So you can see, there's the back, and you can see my pinky. I'm just going to take my pinky and put it on top of that yarn to hold it in place. So this is what the back looks like, and this is what the front looks like. So here's what we have. We have this X at the front, and then around our fingers is the circle. This part of the X is the top of the X. This part is the bottom. So what we're going to do is take our crochet hook, and we're going inside the circle. But we have to grab that top X. So this one right here. And we have to pull it through the circle. Now after I pull it through the circle, I'm just going to twist it up. Okay, so now we're going to move our hook a little bit higher up, because now we're going to turn our fingers, or turn our hands to the back. And now you see you have this yarn piece closest to your fingertip, and then the bottom one. You want to take that bottom one. We're taking your hook and going under to grab that yarn. And we're going to pull it through the loop. So once you get here, and it might be a little bit too tight, so what I like to do is take my thumb and just make sure it just doesn't get out of place and pull through. So now I'm just going to let go so you can see the circle. So here's our circle, and I'll just adjust it. So I want to bring this yarn back out so everything is in place. And there is the circle. And then you can tighten it just by pulling on the yarn. And this yarn piece right here is the one you can adjust the circle with. So you just pull on it, and that is the magic circle. Now I'll show you how to single crochet inside the circle. So when you're working in the circle, you have to go around the circle as well as this yarn right here, because this is the yarn that you will use to adjust the circle. So in most of my patterns, I always do a single crochet of 6 into my magic circle. So that's how many I'll show you today. So to go inside the circle, you just want to take your crochet hook and go in the circle. And you're also going to grab this yarn, and you're going to pull it through the circle. You have 2 loops on your hook. You're now going to yarn over and pull through both loops. So that was a single crochet into the circle. And remember, you have to go around the circle as well as this yarn right here. So let me show that one more time. Okay, so you're going to take your crochet hook and go inside the circle. You're grabbing this yarn and pulling it through the circle. You have your 2 loops on the hook. You are yarning over and pulling through both. To demonstrate one more time slowly, I'm just going to go push my hook through the circle. I'm grabbing this yarn and pulling it through. I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm yarning over and pulling through both. Again, this is a single crochet. I'm just going to do, this is my 4th and 5th. So remember, I said I usually like to do 6 single crochets in my magic circles, or for my patterns. And now I'm just going to take this yarn. So I only did 5 so far, and I'm just going to pull in it to make the circle smaller. I always like to do that before I do my last one, because I feel like it makes the circle look a tiny bit better. So I have my 5 single crochets. Now into this tiny circle, I'm just going to take my hook and go through it, grabbing this yarn and pulling through, there's 2 loops on the hook, I'm yarning over and pulling through both. So that was my last single crochet into the circle. And you can see that when I pulled this yarn, it made the circle much smaller. You can see there's a tiny bit of an opening still. If you keep pulling on this yarn, it will most likely go away. Well, usually when I finish my keep going around, it makes the circle smaller and then I can pull on this more. But right now there's still a tiny bit of space, but you can see the difference when I show you the chain 2 method later of how big the opening will be. I will show you the chain 2 method after this, but I do want to explain something really quick. So at this point I would take my crochet hook out and I'd place my stitch marker into that last stitch, and that would be the end of round 1. Now I used to slip stitch into the first stitch and then I would place my stitch marker in that slip stitch and call that the last one, but I stopped doing that. So a lot of my patterns now, it will just end off with the last single crochet, then the stitch marker. So usually that's the end of round 1, but if a pattern tells you to slip stitch, you would just slip stitch in that one and then place that stitch marker into that last stitch. So it just depends. I do feel like this looks a little bit better when I end it off like this, but basically that is the end of your round, and then you'll just place your stitch marker and now you're done. So if none of that made sense to you, I'm going to show you the chain 2 method. For the chain 2 method, we have to first start off with a slip knot. So what I like to do is take my yarn and I'm going to hold it in half. So you can see this is where the yarn starts. This is the middle where I'm holding onto with my other hand. And now what we're going to do is grab onto the yarn. So that where your yarn starts, I'm just going to take my thumb and my pointer finger. Now with the rest of the yarn, I'm going to take my middle finger and my ring finger, and I'm going to hold on to that. So here's what we're holding on to. This is our thumb and pointer finger, where the beginning of the yarn starts. In my other hand, I'm holding the middle part of the yarn. And then with the rest of the yarn, I'm holding with my ring finger and my middle finger. So next what we're going to do is turn our work. So we're just going to create an X basically. So with the hand I'm holding the 2 pieces, I'm going to turn it. So now I have this X, so I'll show that one more time. So I'm taking the hand where I'm holding my 2 pieces of yarn, I'm going to twist it. There's the X, and here is the loop with my other hand. So next what we're going to do is take where your loop is with the other hand. We're going to grab the yarn that our middle finger and our ring finger is holding onto. We're going to grab that yarn and pull it through. And that is a slip knot. So this is what our slip knot looks like. We're going to take our crochet hook and insert it inside the little loop. And then you're just going to take these 2 pieces of yarn and pull on it to make it smaller. And that is how we first start off. Next, we have to chain 2. So a chain is yarning over your hook and pulling through the loop. So that was a chain of 1. I'll do that one more time. You yarn over, so just take your yarn and put it over your hook. And then you're going to pull that through the loop. So that's a chain of 2, and that's how you're going to start off. So depending on what the pattern says is how many you're going to single crochet, but because I did 6 on the other one, I'm going to single crochet 6. So the way this works is, so what you did right here, that's chain of 1, and chain of 2 is the one right next to your hook. You're going to single crochet into the first chain, so this one right here. Let's just go into that. So let's take our crochet hook and go into the first chain and push your hook through. And then you're going to take that yarn and pull it through until you get your 2 loops on the hook. So there's my 2 loops on the hook. Now I have to yarn over, so I'm taking my yarn and putting it through on top of the hook, and now I'm going to pull through both of the loops. So that was 1 single crochet. Now you have to do that 5 more times if you're doing the single crochet of 6, and you're doing that into the same chain. So that first one there, let's take our crochet hook, you're going into the same one, insert your hook through, grab this yarn and pull it through. We have 2 loops on our hook. Let's yarn over and pull through both of the loops. Again, this is a single crochet, and that was my second one. So now I'm taking my crochet hook and I'm doing the same thing because you have to work through the same chain since this is the chain 2 method. Okay, so now take your crochet hook, go into the same chain, take that yarn and pull it through. We have 2 loops, yarning over and pulling through both. So I currently have 3 single crochets. I'll show you what it looks like. So that's 1, 2, 3. This part right here is part of the chain, and it's kind of going to go away once I do the last 3 single crochets. So now I'm going to go one more time slowly. So this is my 4th. I'm taking my crochet hook, going still inside the same chain, taking this yarn and pulling it through. There's the 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over and pulling through both. So that was 4. Let's do another one. That's 5. And this is my 6th one, going into the same chain, taking this yarn, pulling it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through both. So I would be done with the circle now, so I'm just going to take my hook out to show you what it looks like. Okay, so you see this little hole in the middle? Because you did the chain 2 method, you cannot adjust that like you did the other one. So let me grab my other one really quick so I can show you the difference. Before I show you the other one, so if you're doing a pattern and after you single crochet your 6th one, you would just put your stitch marker into that last one and you'll be done with round 1. So you can see, let me count it with you. So where this loop is, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can see it looks really good even with the chain 2 method. I know a lot of people don't like this because of the opening right there, but now let me show you the one with the magic circle. So you can see the difference. Hold on, let me hold it like this. Okay, so this one is the magic circle, and then this one is the chain 2 method. Honestly, it's not like a big difference, but I think it really does matter when you're doing like a smaller project because you don't want this little opening right here. But sometimes I do the chain 2 method when I just don't feel like doing the magic circle. And then what I do is when I stuff the project, I'll take whatever color the yarn is of where I did the chain 2 method, and then I'll just basically stuff that behind it, and I feel like you can't tell like too much. So if you do the chain 2 because you can't do the magic circle, it's totally fine. I think it still looks good, but I think that the magic circle, you shouldn't be too discouraged because when I was first learning, it did take me like 2 weeks to learn. So it does take a while, and I even had someone teach it to me who's a great teacher, but I think it was just me, not her. So yeah, it does take a while. So, you know, you probably just need to keep practicing at it, and I'm sure you will definitely get it. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.